destroyed the library, leaving nothing behind. The loss of the building, and more importantly its vast collection, is immeasurable. As no descriptions are available, the team's rendition of the Library of Alexandria was inspired by visuals of the Library of Celsus at Ephesus. is proof that the theorem existed in Babylonia and India long before Pythagoras was born, casting some doubts as to who exactly originated the theorem. And here's the philosopher Pythagoras shown teaching. There he is. And what is happening with that guy on the top right? That was, he looked like he was flying. So he completed our first tour. I haven't done the tours on this computer, like I reinstalled the game. So technically that was my first tour ever, but I have done them before on the PS4, I believe. I had played this on the PS4 and then I got it for PC, so I had to start over, and also I didn't have any progress. And this is Aya. She's my favorite, although I love Bike. Bike is great. Look at the pyramids in the distance. We're gonna go there soon, but we'll do one or two more here. Oh, well, there's an introduction to Alexandria one. I guess we technically should have started with that one. We'll go over there. It's a beautiful world, and Alexandria's just gorgeous. It's beautiful to look at, and I hope you're enjoying the gorgeous sceneries, the architecture, and the statues. And where is it? There we go, right there. Not very far away at all. I have Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but for PS4, so I can't play it here yet. After conquering Egypt in 331 BCE, Alexander the Great decided to build a new city, which, as per his habit, he named after himself. After his death, Alexandria quickly became the capital city of the Ptolemaic kingdom, and the most important city of the Greek world. Yeah, I would love to play Odyssey on here, but I don't have it for PC, so I'll have to see. The city was built between the Mediterranean Sea and Lake Mareotis, which resulted in Alexandria becoming a crucial cultural hub and trading center. So there we go, there's Alexandria. Running to the next one. Sumptuous buildings could be seen wherever one turned their gaze. The royal palaces, the many temples, the gymnasium, lush public gardens, and large avenues. It's very beautiful. I would love to go back in time and visit it, to be just a tourist, an unobserved tourist. With its incomparable beauty and advantageous geographic location, Alexandria attracted foreigners, intellectuals, and traders. One of the most cosmopolitan cities of the ancient world, Alexandria supplanted even Athens as the most important Greek city in history. Wow, look at that Colosseum. Or, that's not the right word. It's not a Colosseum, it's a... I can't think of the word. Ooh, obelisks. Egyptian obelisks were highly prized by Roman architects, while Roman design previously favored the use of a single monument. Egyptian obelisks tended to come in pairs and were generally located at the entrance of temples. Several ancient Egyptian obelisks are still in existence today, though many are spread out across the world in locations such as Paris, Rome, New York, and London. All this shows that Alexandria was significant homes were generally composed of 3 rooms. First, there was the entrance, furnished with a small bench of brick, probably intended for a statue and protective divinity. Then there was the ceremonial room, meant to receive guests. The last room was either a bedroom or a kitchen. Furniture consisted of basic chairs, chests, and storage. Tables were not used for family dinners. Instead, each individual had a small table of their own. Isn't that interesting? Everyone has their own table. Stop yawning. Marriages were a social contract rather than a religious construct. Family was vitally important to ancient Egyptians, and children were considered a blessing from the gods. The father, mother, and their children were the nucleus of the family, and cohabitation sometimes extended to mothers-in-law, sisters, aunts, and sisters-in-law. Here's a marriage contract from 380 to 340 BCE. Amazing. Excuse me, little kid. Don't want to hit him. Let's go to this nice house. Status and wealth played a large role in the style and size of ancient Egyptian homes. Commoners' houses were built with sun-baked mud bricks. Wealthier homes were often painted in white and decorated with various motifs. Look at that little model. Very cute. Town officials and the rich lived in mansions with numerous rooms that were luxuriously decorated. Only temples and tombs meant to last for all eternity were built with stone. That's interesting. Let's just go upstairs really quickly. I know the door doesn't take us there, but let's just have a little look-see. We can go outside. Bed is very flat. Very nice. And I'm stuck. There's another balcony out here. Beautiful. Lovely. Oh, it's quite nice out here on the stairs. Okay, let's continue. Down the stairs, down the stairs. That last one, I think. Funeral stone inscriptions focused on the main member of the household. Encircling this person would then be a spouse, parents, and children, possibly even siblings. These stones were so structured because there were no surnames in ancient Egyptian culture. Parents and children were a sort of family tree which allowed for the identification of the deceased. Interesting, so no family names. Instead, you told who's who by their family. And family, the names of the household members. Okay, so that was the family tour. I think maybe we're ready to go to the pyramids and learn a bit about them. Let's see. So they are fauna of ancient Egypt. Fauna sounds interesting. Mummies. Ooh, mummies does sound intriguing. I bet everyone would be interested in that. So here are the pyramids. Quite big. That's the big one. That's the Great Pyramid of Giza. Yeah, secrets of the Great Pyramids. Oh, yes, definitely. We're gonna do secrets of the Great Pyramids. Yes, please. Go fast travel. I think I've actually done this tour before, but it didn't save, because it was on the PS4. Look at that. What a view. What a view. secrets of the Great Pyramid. Built around 2550 BCE, the Great Pyramid of Giza is considered one of the most iconic structures of Egypt. It is the biggest of the pyramids and the only one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world still standing. The numbers associated with the Great Pyramid of Giza are impressive. A workforce of over 20,000 people, 6 million tons of stone, and 20 years of construction. It was a massive undertaking for a pharaoh's tomb. Here's a picture. The construction of the Great Pyramid was also a display of power and opulence on the part of Khufu. It is part of the pharaoh's vast funerary complex, which also includes 2 temples, 3 satellite pyramids, a causeway, and a builder's necropolis. We can guess that the intent behind the construction of these monuments was Khufu's way of declaring himself one of the most powerful pharaohs to rule a united Egypt. Yeah, he thought himself a god, right? New insights into engineering in ancient Egyptian culture are still being revealed over 4,500 years later. For example, a recently unearthed papyrus offers a glimpse into the life of a tradesman at the time of the pyramid's construction. Also, a logbook belonging to a team leader during the building gives details on the craftsmen, their work schedules, and the raw materials required. Look at that view, it's so gorgeous. Here's the papyrus. It is interesting to note that by Cleopatra's time, the pyramid's celestial purpose, its construction, and the function of its mysterious inner chambers was already unclear. Today, it is only through dedicated research that we have begun to grasp some of the Great Pyramid's mysteries. Didn't keep great records, I guess. Okay. Continuing on our tour. The Egyptians had polished their design for centuries by the time great work on the Great Pyramid began. Intended as a tomb for Khufu, the Great Pyramid's structural design has been considered to be nearly perfect by engineers and historians ever since. Here's an ivory statuette of Khufu. Is it Khufu or is it Khufu? Gorgeous view. Love the view here. Precisely oriented north-south to the 4 cardinal points of a compass. The length of each side of the pyramid, Great Pyramid at Giza, at its base was 230 meters, and its original height was 147 meters. The pyramid is a mere 0.05% error away from being a perfect square. That's really good. Wow. Especially for back then. So here's a topographic plan for a part of the Memphis necropolis from the 19th century. In order to achieve the shape of a true pyramid, the design required many considerations in the planning phases, as well as precision during execution. has one. Most of the pyramid was made from local limestone, weighing between 2 to 15 tons per block. There is debate on how the pyramid stones were moved into place. Recent research is exploring the idea that it was built around a large interior ramp, like this. So you see, it's going up and up and up. Oh, there's some people riding camels in the distance. The recently discovered logbook confirms that the high-quality limestone of the outer casing was brought by boat across the Nile from a quarry in Dural. Once complete, the smooth white polished stone of the Great Pyramid would have reflected the sunlight like a beacon, earning it the name, the Horizon of Khufu. Wow, that must have been an amazing sight. Over the centuries, thieves and travelers attempted to access the Great Pyramid numerous times. Ancient writings describe details of its interior, proof that some made their way within, though who gained entrance first and when is unknown. Okay. The main entrance of the Great Pyramid is located 17 meters above ground level. It faces north, likely in order to align with the North Star. Though the entrance passage had been discovered in antiquity, any further access into the Great Pyramid was stopped by massive vertical slabs of rock. As such, present-day visitors to the pyramid must use the robber's entrance. There's 3 men sitting at the main entrance from 1877. So the robber's entrance is down here. There we go. There it is. The robber's entrances are reported to have been opened in the 9th century by Caliph al-Mamun. In search of treasure, the Caliph had his men dig their way inside the Great Pyramid. The most likely scenario is that they enlarged a corridor which had been created by tomb robbers during antiquity. As such, this is how the team can justify access to this wonder. As another behind the scenes from the game. Oh, looks like we're gonna go inside a little bit. Attempts to gain entry to the Great Pyramid and uncover its potential secrets continued throughout the centuries. In the 19th century, the belief that another entry existed at the south side resulted in a hole being blasted into the pyramid side with no result for the damage that was done. That's really sad. While the search is still ongoing today to uncover more hidden rooms and passageways, conservation is the primary concern of all such efforts. That's good to hear because it'd be such a shame if they're blowing stuff up. So I'll use my torch, and there's another door right up here so we can continue inside the pyramid. Now, I'll give you a little warning if you're a little bit claustrophobic. There's times when you might want to close your eyes, like now when we squeeze between this rock. So I'm going to give you a little heads up, and then I'll let you know when you can look again, if it bothers you. Welcome to the Great Pyramid of Giza upper chambers. At the entrance of the ascending passage are 3 granite flagstones estimated to weigh up to 25 tons each. They were used to protect the Great Pyramid from thieves. Undaunted by the granite blocks, the thieves simply dug into the softer limestone around them, thus creating the robber's entrance. While in reality, the robber's entrance is small in one single cavity, which leads to both passages. In the game, the team created, as behind the scenes, individual accesses to either passage. As such, in the game, one entrance leads to the ascending passage, while another leads to the descending passage. So this is slightly different from reality, but that's just because this is a game. The ascending passageway at the Great Pyramid provides a direct path into the granite gallery, and it has access to 30 meters from the entrance along the descending corridor. Both corridors have similar dimensions and are designed with the same 26-degree incline. was enlarged, possibly during or after the funeral. To allow workers to move granite blocks meant to block the corridor. So we're gonna go up there, but first we go here. The Grand Gallery's purpose is still debated among experts. It may have been intended to align with the stars, act as a buffer to protect the king's chamber, or simply to facilitate the transport of the granite blocks used inside the pyramids. So here, or here. Access to the queen's chamber was at the beginning of the Grand Gallery, which is here. So close your eyes if you aren't comfortable with small spaces, and I'll let you know when you can open them. Keep them closed, keep them closed. Okay, you can open again. Though this room is referred to as the Queen's Chamber, it is believed that there was no queen buried here. Based on their knowledge of earlier pyramids, Egyptologists believed it was more likely intended as the king's serdab, a chamber meant to contain the Ka statue. Whoops, I accidentally skipped it. Situated exactly within the pyramid's center on the east-west axis of the pyramid. The chamber is a vaulted ceiling and measures 5.7 by 5.2 meters. In the eastern wall, there is a niche tucked away in a small corbelled archway, which may have originally held the Ka statue. Behind this niche is another smaller hole, possibly dug out by thieves in search of further treasure. In the 19th century, two shafts were found running through the north and south walls. See, right there. They each run in a horizontal line for 2 meters before sloping upward, and both are closed off with limestone blocks fitted with copper handles. Whether they were intended as ventilation shafts for workers or a celestial connection for the pharaoh spirit is unconfirmed. Interesting. A recent scan of the room indicated the presence of an unknown cavity hidden behind the north face of the walls over the descending corridor. Further investigation is still ongoing to ascertain the nature of the anomaly so as to avoid risking damage to the monument. So this wall, behind this wall, that's really interesting. Let me redo this one since I accidentally kind of skipped it. So there's no queen buried here, yeah. So, that's the king's serdab. A chamber meant to contain the Ka statue. Oh, close your eyes if you're scared of small spaces. Because I gotta crawl through another. Gotta go back. Why did they make the entryway so small? So short. Okay, you can open your eyes again. We're going up to the king's chamber. Khufu's architects were possibly influenced by earlier rhomboidal pyramids when designing the gallery. It is the longest corbelled vault ever built, measuring 47 meters long and 8.60 meters high. The walls are made to taper inward, allowing for better distribution of weight. As a result, the ceiling measures just over a meter wide at its highest point. Though this construction technique is present in other pyramids, few have the same precision and stability. While the space is visually dramatic, the gallery seemed to serve a practical function, though what exactly remains uncertain. Still, the wall design was undoubtedly meant to contribute to the stability of the structure, and its floor may have helped workers move the materials. A channel runs along the middle of the room. A movable floor originally rested in the central recess. The raised benches on either side are equipped with slots that may have been used to help position the granite blocking stones. Interesting. At the end of the Grand Gallery is the entrance to the antechamber leading to the king's chamber. Another small space. Directly above there is another narrower horizontal shafts, and the culture of the Old Kingdom believed that the shafts were thought to lead the king's soul to the stars, with the incarnation of the pharaoh as the god Ra, represented by the northern wall, and the god Horus by the southern wall. Southern. There's a granite sarcophagus at the west end of the room, but it is concealed in the concealed construction. The workmen of the room stones which verify this is the resting place of Khufu. The sarcophagus was recorded as being empty when it was discovered, and its design indicates that there was once a lid in place. It's possible that this sarcophagus is only a cenotaph in memory of the pharaoh, but was never actually meant to receive the body. Here's hieroglyphics in the chamber. And last one. Khufu's mummy was never found. It is hoped that, as of yet undiscovered hidden rooms and shafts of the pyramid may provide an answer as to its location. Yeah, that's interesting. Is it still there, or did grave robbers come and get it? So, we are not going to do this one right now. We're going to do just one or two more really quick ones, and then that'll be it for today's lesson/ASMR video. So let's see, here's Memphis. Let's go, Siwa. So there's Siwa, Egyptian medicine, hieroglyphics, Osiris, the first mummy. Yeah, these sound good. Yeah, big map, huh? Yeah, it's a big map. Yeah, let's do Osiris, the first mummy, in Siwa, which is where you start the game. That's where Bike's from. Alright. Osiris, the first mummy. Yeah, let's do it. Welcome to Osiris, the first mummy. This will be an interesting story. The oldest mummies recovered date from the Old Kingdom, though Egyptologists guess that mummification was in use much earlier than that. At first, the body was mummified through environmental desiccation by leveraging the dryness of the environment and the heat of the climate. Early experimentations in mummification were conducted with the use of resin made from tree sap. Strips of linen were only used on some superficial parts of the epidermis of the hands or jaw. I can't get in. Okay. Ideologically, the will to preserve the body is not explained in any way until 3600 BCE. This is when the Egyptian believed that the body housed the soul was finally documented for modern Egyptologists to eventually decipher. It is not until the arrival of the myth of Osiris in the Egyptian religion around the 5th dynasty that mummification was thoroughly conceptualized. The practice was thereafter grounded in both a mythological and ideological point of view. Osiris was mainly known as the god of the dead and the god of resurrection. The most well-known Genesis myth concerning Osiris is that of his dismemberment. Alright, well, let's hear it. Statutes of Osiris. It is Plutarch who gives the most simplified and complete summary of the story. Within Egyptian mythology, Osiris represented the first Isis, save for his manhood as it was eaten by a fish. Wow. What's down here? Oh well, we can't go in there. Isis then reassembled the body of her husband by binding it together with strips of linen. Aided by her sister Nephthys, another powerful magician, they gave Osiris the breath of life. This not only brought him back from the dead, but also allowed him to recover his virility long enough to impregnate Isis, thus ensuring his succession before, once more, dying. Thus, Horus was born. That's kind of sad for him. He died. He had a son and they died again. The ritual used to bring Osiris back to life essentially depicts how he became the first mummy. It is why on the sarcophagi of kings we often find Isis and Nephthys, and magicians who restore life to the deceased. So there we have it. They were the original embalmers, pretty much. So that's the story behind mummification and the mythology behind it. So let's do the as one last tour, let's do the hieroglyphic tour, which is back down here, back in Siwa, and let's see if I can see where that is. Somewhere over there. I'm gonna need to run. Can I jump off? Doesn't look like they'll let me jump. How do I wanted to like call a horse, but I don't know if I either didn't press the right button or it's Q. But it's possible that, she just doesn't have a horse. I thought I remembered riding a horse in my previous tours, but that might have been just a horse that I found. I'm pressing Q and it's not working, so I will just run there. Just get to enjoy a little bit more of the scenery. That's fine. This mode is really great because there's no violence, there's no hostile AI. No lions are gonna come out and attack me, and no thugs are gonna attack me. So it is fantastic for just walking around the world, and at the same time you get to go on these awesome tours and you get to learn. I just absolutely love this, and I'm really hoping you like it too, and that you are enjoying a little educational ASMR, which is one of my favorite things. So it should be, where was it? Quick check. There's the medicine wine. There we go. Oh, it's kind of far, but at least now we know. And oh look, a camel. I'm just gonna commandeer that super quickly. Thank you very much. Camels are not the fastest mount in this game. In fact, this guy's kind of slow, as you can see, but I don't know, it's better than walking on foot, and you get a little bit of camel riding fun. What's the best way to get there? Maybe I'll try to cut through some of these little side streets. So it's up here. Do I turn right there, or... Yeah, okay, I should have taken a right there. Here we go. So we're going to, like, this big temple. Yeah, temple place. There we go. There's the door. Let's is a small safe. A clue on which way to read is to first notice which direction the figurative signs are facing. If the pictogram is looking to the right, then the reader is meant to start from the right and read towards the figure. Okay. Column text on a papyrus begins from the right and then goes top to bottom for each column. So here he's facing the right, so we would start up here and go down, and then back up here, and then down. Text written on tomb walls resembles the structure of a page from a comic book. The text can be placed in front, behind, or above the character, and its symbols look in the same direction as the character. That's super cool. Another clue is that the name of a god or hieroglyphs meaning gods or kings are always written before the descriptive text. Alright, so interesting. I didn't know any of this. Compared to alphabetical languages, Egyptian hieroglyphs have more symbols. Confronted with the absence of vowels, the Egyptians invented a category of signs. When placed at the end of words, these signs help inform its meaning. For instance, a drawing of a lion will refer to a lion and also relate to the abstract concept of a lion as something dangerous or powerful. Wow. Middle Egyptian hieroglyphs contained a little more than 700 signs. By the end of the Greco-Roman period, there were 10,000 signs. This is almost as bad as Chinese. Egyptologist Sir Alan Gardner created a list classifying common hieroglyphic signs and their variants. Ancient Egyptian languages have many similarities with Asian and African languages. They've evolved in similar ways to the various forms of written Egyptian. These languages belong to the Hamito-Semitic group. There were 5 clear evolutions in the Egyptian language, each with their own distinctive structure. These languages are known as Old Egyptian, Middle Egyptian, Late Egyptian, Demonic, and Coptic. Coptic is the only living language that allows linguists to define the vowel structure and to distinguish different dialects. So behind the scenes, while hieroglyphs and hieratic script give us an idea as to how the ancient Egyptian language was structured and written, the way it was spoken is still up for debate. The team opted for English as the spoken language, with the characters using ancient Egyptian and Greek words and accents. The language that is spoken in the background by the crowds is largely based on Sir Alan Gardner's Egyptian grammar. To help resurrect a dead language, we consulted Egyptologists and dialogue coaches to establish our target sound and cast actors of Arabic, Hebraic, and African backgrounds to bring them to life. After Alexander the Great's arrival in Egypt and the establishment of his reign, Greek became the language used by the governing bodies. The inability to read hieroglyphs caused resentment among the Greek population. It's from this tension that the Rosetta Stone was created. I've seen the Rosetta Stone a few times. It's in the British Museum, and it's a lot smaller than I thought it would be, but it's a very important piece of stone. The spread of Christianity ended Pharaonic culture and resulted in the destruction of its